I want to talk about Sonic Frontiers because I think it's doing some interesting things. But because it's such a new game, I don't want to have my normal critique style potentially ruin the experience for someone who's interested in the game. So instead, what I'm going to do is have two videos. This video will be a basic review of game mechanics and my overall thoughts on the story, but it's going to be as spoiler-free as I can get it and still get my thoughts out on whether I think it's a good game. I won't use footage of anything past the first island, so you won't see anything that hasn't been shown off in trailers or pre-release footage. This video should give you enough information to let you know if you'll want to play the game first. The next video will be a longer, more thorough, and detailed look at the entirety of the game and its story. If you want to know what I think while knowing absolutely as little as possible, then it's the best Sonic has been in a long while, and despite some minor issues, I highly recommend it. Don't pay for the deluxe edition though. I bought it almost exclusively for the soundtrack, but the art book and the soundtrack are both tied to an application you have to run. You can't listen to the music with the application in the background. If the window loses focus, it'll pause whatever it's playing. You can't even look through the art book while the music plays. Sega, don't do that again. As for the actual game, like I said, it's one of the best Sonic games in a while. The controls have a great balance between speed and precision. When you know what you're doing, you can travel vast distances in an instant, even without messing with the physics. You have a very versatile toolset for movement. The boost is back again, and there are parts of the game where you're just going to leave it held down, but it isn't too fast to react to things coming in the distance, and if you do need to slow down, it's fluid, so it still feels like you're keeping a fast pace. The air boost does reset momentum, so I can see that feeling awkward for some, but it was probably done that way to make it easier to boost in any direction. It can be a handy save if you need to recover from a mistake. There's a double jump which is useful no matter the environment, and a drop kick which is useful for getting back on the ground quickly. You can hold the drop button to bounce off the ground, which you can use to gain some extra height. It would be nice if there was a bit more separation between dropping to the ground versus just bouncing, but it's still usable. The homing attack is back, and to facilitate the double jump it's now on the attack button instead of being shared with the jump button. It's not hard to get used to. When it's used on balloons it's an almost instant thing, but on enemies there's a bit of a delay for it to feel like it has more impact. I would personally prefer it being quick, but it's still satisfying in its own way. A new ability has been added called the Psy Loop. When used, Sonic will leave a trail behind him. When you complete a loop, the effect will depend on what's in the loop. On an enemy, it'll remove defenses or do damage. In the world, it can be used to activate objects or clear debris. An empty loop will give you rings and items, and drawing the infinity symbol will give you an infinite boost. It's essentially a multi-tool. The rate at which you get items is just enough to cover you if you're missing a couple, but if you're missing a lot, it's faster to just go find them in the world, or go fishing. Ultimately, the player is in control of how they want to interact with the world, which is a bit of a theme with the design of the whole game. If there's a part of the controls you think need tweaking, they give you the options to do so. They also ask you how you want Sonic to control at the start, so you can tailor how Sonic controls to what you feel comfortable with. I went with the speed style controls, and the only thing I felt needed to change was increasing the base speed a bit. That's it for the movement, but there's more to the controls now. Combat is more fleshed out than it's ever been, even including a skill tree. The skill tree seems fairly bare at first glance, but it builds up just enough over the course of the game to be engaging. You'll have the full thing unlocked before too long, which is good. At the start of the game, the new combat system is serviceable, but nothing special. You'll probably be leaning on the Sonic Boom ability in the early game for a while, but once everything's unlocked, it's really fun to build up combos and just absolutely destroy enemies. To facilitate that, there are some basic stats you can upgrade. Strength, defense, speed, and ring capacity. Strength and defense are useful to boost as they can help you deal with enemies. You won't feel the need to upgrade them until the second island, but half of the rewards in the overworld are the seeds you need to level them up. When you turn them in, they'll all be taken at once, making leveling these stats easy. Which makes it an odd choice that leveling speed and ring capacity have to be done one at a time. Honestly, unless you're going for the achievements or need help with the island bosses, you can probably just leave these alone. If you do need to upgrade them, try to spread it out because it can be tedious. I didn't notice an appreciable difference in the speed upgrades, and the higher ring capacity just made it take longer to get to the upgraded boost you have while holding max rings. The seeds and cocos are optional things for increasing your stats, and, while a nice reward, aren't the main thing you're going to be looking for. For progression, you need gears, vault keys, and memory tokens, which, on the first island, are hearts. You can find gears in the overworld, but you'll mainly get them by defeating the larger enemies around the map. They range in difficulty and mechanics for how you deal with them, each zone introducing a few unique ones, so while there's some repetition, none of them feel like they outstay their welcome. They do have a tendency to grab the camera for a dramatic entrance, which is really cool the first time, but I could really do without it each following time. At least you're not locked into the fight, so if you want, you can just leave. They are fun to fight and are the best ways to find gears because they're marked on your map. Gears are used for unlocking the cyberspace levels, which are the more traditional linear Sonic levels. Each of the cyberspace levels has 4 missions. Completing the level with a certain number of rings, finding all the red rings, and getting an S-rank time. Outside of the, at this point, infamous 1-2, none of the stages are incredibly tricky, and it likely won't take more than a few tries to complete any particular stage, giving you plenty of vault keys. The physics feel slightly different compared to the overworld. For the most part, this isn't enough of a difference to be noticeable, but the stages that are strictly 2D can feel sluggish. It's not enough to ruin the experience of the stage, but it does take some adjustment. There's a total of 5 vault keys in each cyberspace level. Finishing the 4 missions rewards you an additional one, and you can find them in the overworld. So you can focus on the stages you like, and ignore or only half finish any you might not care for. The vault keys themselves are used to get Chaos Emeralds, which are essentially plot coupons. You'll need them all before fighting each island's boss. The memory tokens also work as plot coupons, as you need them for each interaction with whichever one of Sonic's friends is on your current island. Outside the main plot, the tokens can be used for little vignettes of conversations which help flesh out the characters a lot. The writing here is the best it's ever been. The characters are given room to be actual characters, discussing past adventures and where they want to go from here. The voice acting is solid, even if it takes some getting used to. You will have to be willing to tolerate some questionable animations. The mouth movement is sometimes particularly poorly done. If you can look past that, there's a lot to enjoy, and I'd like to see more of these versions of the characters. All the items, including the ones you use for progression, can be gotten at the fishing spot. You can find purple coins around the world that you can use for a chance to fish, and fishing can give you a token to trade for these items. Liberal use of fishing could have you skip collecting other items entirely, but you still need to collect the coins, at least until you get a meteor shower, which has you play a slot machine for more. Once that happens, it's easy to stock up on large amounts. Fishing spots tend to be across the map from where you start, so you would have to go out of your way to skip everything in between. But if that's what you find fun to do, there's not really a problem with that. Personally, I didn't even pay attention to the fishing until I tried to max out my stats, which is a shame really, because the Eggman memos have some nice characterization for the mad scientist. Each island ends with a fight against a massive-sized titan that's hyped throughout your time there. They're not hard, but they are fun. I found the final boss a bit of a letdown, but that's more of how it's set up. It's competently made, but it doesn't hold up to the other bosses in the game, whether we're talking about the bosses for the islands or the larger enemies of the overworld. That still puts it ahead of several other final bosses in the series. It's just a contrast to how good the rest of the bosses are. To address some other issues that may come up, hitting a slope while boosting may launch you into the air. Sometimes this can be beneficial, but other times it can be inconvenient. It's only ever as bad as being inconvenient because you can jump or stomp out of it and keep going like nothing happened. There is pop-in, and it does affect whole objects. However, it never blocks off the entrance of a path, and it never prevents you from knowing where the next part of the path is. The closest you'll get is being launched a distance, but it should be obvious that it's either the end of the path, or you are being moved to where it continues. The cyberspace levels are thematically limited. By the end of the first island, you'll have seen how they all look. They're short and spaced out enough that it wasn't tiring for me, but I really hope to see something more unique in the next game. Cyberspace as a concept itself feels like a stopgap to me. Most of the story didn't really need it as a core element, and it kind of feels like it was used because it was the easiest way to justify the linear levels. The floating rails and platforms can stand out from the overworld. They're not carelessly placed, and most of the time they're part of the environment, but that's not always how it comes off. None of this affects my enjoyment of the game, but I should be clear that I prefer a game be 6 out of 10, trying to be ambitious or unique. The big saving grace of this game is the combination of the movement and being able to choose how I engage with the game. It's just fun to flow through the obstacles in the world, and despite having complaints about the cyberspace levels, I really enjoy those too. I really enjoy Breath of the Wild and Mario Odyssey, but I have to be in the right headspace to replay them because there's a particular order I end up engaging with them. Small things like the shrines can eat up time I'd rather spend with other parts of the game. Here, I can just go, and I make progress. I think putting numbers on scores can be pretty arbitrary, so to sum up my thoughts on the game, Sonic Frontiers is the best Sonic has been in over a decade. If you like momentum-based platformers, then I think it's a safe bet for you to buy this game. Thanks again for watching my video. Have you played Sonic Frontiers? What did you think of it? Remember to subscribe to be updated when I release a new video. If you want to support the making of these videos, and other video game critiques, check out my Patreon. All patrons get access to ad-free videos, and $10 patrons will get a shout-out at the end of the next video. See y'all next time!